So hey Twitch fans, what's going on? Got some pretty big news here on the Twitch side of things today for y'all. As many of you know, the other day, Harris Heller of Senpai Gaming and of course the wonderful free music platform Streambeats, he actually had a one-on-one interview with Twitch CEO Dan Clancy. And they talked about a wide variety of things, including sub splits and all that stuff, the new multicasting policy or multi-streaming policy, whatever you want to call it. But there was one interesting little tidbit, and it was whenever Harris Heller brought up implementing AV1 encoding for Twitch streams. In other words, so you could, use like a third of the bandwidth required for the same high quality streams you need right now with H.264. And Dan Clancy said something that was pretty darn interesting. So I'm going to roll that clip and we can talk about it afterward.
Because an AV1 encoder would allow you to get the exact same quality for about 2/3 of the bit rate, 2/3 of the data.
Yeah, I know.
And then you could, whatever the savings are, let's say you were to do that and that became the norm, everyone's using AV1, you're able to literally cut your ingest costs by a third. And I'm not a developer, I don't know exactly how it works, but serious cost to how much data your throughput is going on. And then do you think it'd be possible to increase that to 70/30 if you included AV1 and that became widely adopted?
But yeah, by the way, I think that's a good example of, in general, what I continue to try to do is look for ways where we can make our business work more effectively. And that's why Partner Plus was designed so that we can lower that threshold. Okay. So some of this will get a little techie, but since you're techie, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Of course, a big part of transcoding is actually the cost of the transcode. Okay, in the compute cycles. So in fact, transcoding to AV1 is more expensive than transcoding to H.264.
But what if it's already being sent to you in AV1?
Yes, no, in fact, you're going exactly to where I was going. That in fact, one of the things that we're working on is the ability to have client-side transcoding. Okay, because most people have computers that have the cycles to do the transcoding. So right now we have to pay for the cycles to do the transcoding. Okay, and by the way, our transcoders tend to be older because we have a fleet of them. We bought them 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and in fact, of course, they don't transcode at the same quality that the NVIDIA chips you have sitting on your computer can do. It's not just the AV1. Even if you're doing H.264, you can get a better encoding from the from your NVIDIA on your computer than you can in ours. So yes, the idea would be we move more towards client-side transcoding that also then allows support for AV1. Okay, and so over time you get increased quality, reduced costs.
That was the main question: are you guys working towards that? Yeah. And is there a timeline on when we're going to see significant price? I shouldn't say price changes, but cost changes to Twitch that will also impact streamers and their rates.
Yeah, I can't tell you a timeline. We almost were announcing some of the plans at TwitchCon, but we want to work still with the OBS team to figure out what's a good strategy here. We're working closely but it isn't specifically just about AV1. It's about talking about the whole strategy. It would not affect the revenue share right away, of course, because these things all take time. Getting people to adopt things take time. But overall, that's an example of one of the things we're doing. You always look at what is the cost, what drives your cost, and what can you do to bring it down.
And timeline aside, those savings will be passed on to the streamers?
Yes.
Sick.
Like, that's insane, right? That's going to be so darn cool. So whenever they do eventually implement client-side transcodes, and it is true, it will allow us to have a much higher quality transcode than what Twitch can offer on their end right now. And as he just said, that whenever they can finally move away from, server-side transcode to client-side, they can pass that savings onto the caster with a higher subsplit. And the funny thing is everybody is saying, well, what if we don't have a newer NVIDIA or AMD or Intel graphics card or, newer CPU? What if we might not be able to, watch the AV1 stuff or the higher bit rate stuff because our system just can't handle it? Well, the good news is, though, folks, that if you have a system built in the last couple of years, you'll be able to decode that stuff, not a problem. A lot of hardware out there actually can decode AV1 and HEVC content. It just wasn't able to actually in real time encode it. Okay, now I know that a few years ago there was a plugin for OBS Studio that allowed you to use CPU based AV1, and it worked and it looked good, but it was so computationally taxing on a CPU unless you had a dedicated stream PC or just a dedicated encoding PC, you couldn't use it because I have a 12 core 24 thread Ryzen 5900X, and even while gaming, recording at 1080p 30 frames per second at like 20,000 bit rate, my CPU was pegged at 80-90%, lagging in game, frame pacing issues. Like it was extremely taxing on a system. But now that now that everything is done a lot more efficiently on GPU based encoders, like on the Radeon 7000 series, the new Intel Arc stuff, or like I have in my system here, an RTX 4080 from NVIDIA, it's a lot more efficient. It's a lot faster. And it's way less intense on your system, you know what I mean? And on top of that, even mobile devices can decode AV1 and HEVC now as well too. So like that's also pretty cool. And hey, any way that Twitch can cut costs and pass that savings onto the creators as a higher revenue split or some sort of higher paid incentive, that's going to just be a bonus for everyone if you ask me. But what do y'all think? Do me a favor, sound off below. Do you think AV1 is what Twitch is missing right now? Or would you be happier with a higher quality H.264 or maybe even an in-between like an H.265? Do me a favor, sound off in the comments below and I will catch you guys and gals next time.